Some of the signs you gave us for the last days. How do you even know about that conversation? Are you a spy for the Romans? That was supposed to be a private conversation. Why did you tell us not to have sex till marriage?
How in the hell did you get my mail? That was supposed to be in Corinth.
Jesus specifically told us we were the last generation. So my question is, why do you think he was talking to you? Were you at the mountain too? What do you want to say to people in the future?
The future? We've got 5 years tops. People shouldn't even be having babies.
People in your culture are so busy thinking Jesus is talking to them, they forget Jesus was literally talking to us.
Paul told us that we would meet the Lord in the air. I wrote that to the first century church. I didn't even know who the hell you were.
For the dumb people in the back, Jesus was not talking to your big head ass in Matthew 24. If you think he was, I'm doing hairline restoration in the back of the church. Paul told us in the last days this would happen.
What the hell are you talking about? I don't even know who you people are. Me and the apostles were in the last days.
Some of you standing here will not taste death until you see me coming in my kingdom. Wow. It's almost like he's speaking directly to me. You will not outrun all of the towns of Israel before I return. Wow. I need to go to all the towns of Israel. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to them.
You see, this is one of the main reasons why I deconstructed from Christianity. It truly is. You see, the more and more I read the New Testament as well as the Old Testament, but the more and more I read and studied and broke down and deconstructed the New Testament, the more and more I realized that Christianity should not have lasted for more than about 40 years, 40, maybe 50, 80 on a good whim. Simply because none of the apocryphal writing of the the New Testament is for people today. You see, all of it should have been seen as a false prophecy, whether we're talking about Paul, who I believe was an agent of Rome, or we're talking about Jesus, who was a literary character created by Rome based on multiple Yeshua types. In either way, the religion should have died roughly within 40, 50, maybe 60 years of the so-called events happening. So none of these things were written prior to 70 AD, 70 CE. That's without a shadow of a doubt. So when I say 40 years, that's 110, right? 110 CE, 50 years, 120, 60 years, 130, so on and so forth. It should not have lasted beyond that, because anyone who was alive around 70 CE and started believing in this religion, their mindset should have been that we are the last generation. We are the last group of people that will exist. That if this Jesus character was walking around in 30, died somewhere between 30 and 33 CE, and if you believe the Matthew version of the story, would have died around 27, no later than 27 CE, that by the time we get to the end of the first century, the apocryphal writings should have come true. Those things should have happened. The Antichrist should have come. This is why in John of Patmos' writings of Revelation, the Antichrist is numbered by 666, and in the Vulgate is 616. And that is because in the Hebrew naming, the way the Hebrew lettering works, in the Greek is 666, which means Nero. It's the name of Nero. They still believe that Nero could return. Nero wasn't disposed of until around 70, 72, somewhere around in the 70s CE time frame. So it was plausible that he could return in 70 and 80 and 90, that he would return and that he would be the end of times, that there were already wars and rumors of wars during that time frame throughout the Roman Empire, throughout the land that they knew of the Mediterranean. There was already famines that were happening. There were natural disasters that were happening. There were heavenly bodies doing things that they just didn't understand. So all these things were happening in their lifetime. So their expectation was that Jesus would return in their lifetime. This is why Paul was teaching you, if you can abstain from committing sexual immoralities, do so. Don't marry. Don't have children. Jesus is going to return before we die. But if you can't help yourself, go ahead and marry. So at least that way, you're not sinning when Jesus returned before we die. But after 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, and these things don't come about, according to the biblical belief, Jesus, the ministry of Jesus, the writings of Paul should have been seen as false prophecy. But because the religion had gained ground, because people were believing in it, because the ideas of Vespasian to create this docile version of Judaism didn't work, the religion had to be redone, reimagined. And this reimagining of it is what allowed for this ideas of dispensation to be, that this is something that a generation that Jesus was talking about is, oh, it could be 100 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 plus years. It could be any of that time frame. So this is why throughout all the history of Christianity, from the moment of its creation, every generation has believed that they were in the end times, that Jesus' return was imminent. And yet, here we sit, July 5th, 2025, and there has been no sign of Jesus. He hasn't yet to return. The Antichrist has not shown himself. We have not seen the scorpion-looking creature screaming Abaddon. We have not seen the rivers turn into blood, not look like blood, but turn into blood. Nor have we seen all the fresh waters turning into blood and being poisoned. We have not seen a third of the population decimated by the release of 4 angels at the bank of the Euphrates River. And nor has the Euphrates River dried up to provide a roadway for the Antichrist and his prophet and his military general. And demons leap out of their heads like frogs. We haven't seen none of those things, and none of them seem to be on the horizon. And they certainly are not happening in the order that they are supposed to happen. Remember, the Antichrist must come before the Euphrates dried up, not the Euphrates drying up beforehand. Doesn't work that way. The temple must be rebuilt before any of these things happen. So because we have not seen any of these things, Jesus and Paul should be looked upon as false prophets because they didn't happen in the time frame that they actually specified. The Jesus character, Yeshua, was very specific. There are those who walk among you today who will not taste death, yet all of them died. If they all died, doesn't that make Jesus a false prophet? Paul taught that Jesus would come back before he died. Paul died. Does that not make him a false prophet? But you've renegotiated the text to give it a different meaning, a longer term meaning. This is the same way that the Seventh-day Adventists did with Ellen G. White's prophecy. She taught that the rapture and Jesus would happen before she died. But then she died and the rapture didn't happen. So they renegotiated her prophecies so that they can maintain the religion because it had grown. The Jehovah's Witnesses said that once 144,000 are sealed, once there are 144,000 Jehovah's Witnesses, the end time would happen. 144,000 were sealed. The religion was still growing. The end time hadn't happened. So they renegotiated what it means, what it really means. Those 144,000 would be in the heavens with God, in the kingdom, in the house, in the castle with God, while the rest of the Jehovah's Witnesses will inherit the earth and live on earth, a new earth and a new Jerusalem. And that is how this religion sustains itself, by renegotiating the original teachings of it so that you can keep believing in it, and thereby them maintaining their control over you with it. But you can keep going ahead and believing that. One day you may or may not wake up and realize that you have given your life to a myth, to something that people created for other political reasons, not for your glory or your redemption, your salvation, but for political reasons is why Christianity was created. And for political reasons and the maintaining of a religion is why each one has renegotiated the text and the ideas of it. You'll wake up and then you'll free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable.